I live in an isolated village in Transylvania. When I was a kid, something happened to my evil father after he died. Finale. A story by user Postmortem 33. Wednesday, October 11th, 1995. That morning, Mom told me to check the animals and see if everything was all right with them. It wasn't. They were all dead, drained of blood, and hung upside down on a wire she used to dry washed clothes. I wanted to tell her this, but she was already asleep. I then left for my grandfather's house. He lived alone. I never knew my grandmother. She had died when giving birth to my mom. Maybe that was why part of the cold relationship between mother and Janos came. Maybe he blamed her for his wife's death. Janos was on the road. He returned from the woods with a dead deer in his wagon, 3 buckets of mushrooms, and 2 large trout. "What are you doing here, son? Shouldn't you be sleeping?" he asked. "Sir, something's happened to my mom. She got a fever. She is sick." "It's terrible," I replied. "Here, help me get these inside, and we'll talk," he told me. I grabbed the fish and 2 buckets full of mushrooms. In one, he had penny buns and in the other Caesar's mushrooms. "You got luck today, huh?" I asked. In his other bucket, he had golden chanterelles. He grabbed the deer with one hand and threw it over his shoulder like it was nothing. I wondered what my life would have been like if I'd had a father like him. Sheer determination, power, will, and discipline. He looked very healthy too. He nodded and invited me inside his small house. He liked to live modestly with as few earthly possessions as possible. He had a room that served as both bedroom and living room. A small kitchen where he mainly cooked stews from what he hunted or whatever fish he may have caught, and a small bathroom with a tub and sink. He had only a handful of chickens in his backyard, 3 turkeys, a cow, 2 dogs, and a cat. He said he didn't like having pigs or eating their meats. He sat me on a chair in the kitchen, and I told him about yesterday's events. He glanced at the wall behind me for a moment, not saying anything. I saw his gaze fixating on a picture of the Virgin Mary holding baby Jesus painted on wood. "A priest gave me this 30 years ago. He said it would come in handy in times like these. I guess your good-for-nothing father can't rest, and we'll have to kill him again," he said, making the sign of the cross 3 times. "Kill my father again." I hated him with all my soul. I have many reasons for doing so, Janos. Many reasons. I can't tell you how many times I wanted him dead or how many times I wished for him to get in an accident and slowly bleed or suffocate to death. I said, "There are things you don't know, grandfather." "I'm afraid I know what you're talking about, son. I didn't want to intervene, but I can do so now," he sighed. I don't know why I called him like that, probably because I never had any actual father figure in my life. He liked it because his face lit up and he stroked my hair. He said he'd come to check on mother right away and be back in the afternoon with deer stew and cooked mushrooms. He said he knew what needed to be done and that the process would be ugly. Mother was still sleeping when we came back. When she woke up, she said to leave them alone so they could talk, but Janos insisted I should stay. I like my grandchild very much. Marietta. He seems like a brave young man with a strong mind and an immaculate soul. I want him to help me with this endeavor. "Do you want to, Vlad?" he asked me. "There's nothing I would like more than helping you kill the monster for the 2nd time, Janos. I'm not afraid. I'm not like him, a failure, a crook, a violent man. I want only what's best for my mother," I replied. "See, Marietta? He's just like me," Janos said. He glanced at me and smiled. "You're going to do great in life, son." "Father, I don't think that's a good idea. He's only a child, after all," she whimpered. "I know. But he wants to be there, and I want him to be there. His strong determination would help immensely in stopping this cancer, this pestilence, this ravenous curse that started eating at you last night. He needs you alive so you can raise him. And when you get old, he'll be the one to take care of you, all right?" Janos replied, grabbing mother's hand and caressing it. Janos said that we couldn't involve the village priest because he would be legally obliged to alert the authorities, and that was something no one wanted. He went on to say that this needed to be done the old way. Only a handful of people knew how to do this. He would go to some of his old friends and tell them about this, and in the afternoon he'd be back with food and a plan. He was adamant that my mother would be healthy again and the strigo gone. Janos told me we had to start at midnight so my mother's condition wouldn't deteriorate. I showed him the dead animals, and before he left, gathered them in a pile and set them on fire. He said that was the sign of the strigo. He left his mark on our house and poisoned the ground with those dead animals. So we had to burn them. The smell of sizzling flesh and feathers made me sick to the stomach, and the heavy, dense smoke filled my lungs with dread and cadaverous horror. We gathered the ashes, poured holy water over them, and buried them in the small woods behind my house. Janos firmly shook my hand, thanked me for helping him, and said he'd return around 4 p.m. He instructed me to take care of my mother as best I could. So I did. Until he returned, I changed her bedding and clothes, made her tea, gave her some of that delicious soup she had made, and told her everything would be fine. The hours came and went. I was focused on the task at hand, having only one thought: my mother would survive and be healthy again. Besides the obvious thing that worried me, my dad coming back from the grave to haunt my mom and possibly me, another thought came into view. What was Madame Serban's involvement in this? She was there from the beginning. She was on the side of the road, saying father didn't die a good death. Was she the one who facilitated his end? Was this some sort of experiment she did to see if she could control the strigo and possibly make more and control them to do her bidding? "Are you all right, sweetheart?" Mom said, barely opening her eyes. "Did you eat?" "Yes, Mother. I'm fine. Here, you should eat some more." I gave her soup and bread and told her she needed it to regain her strength. She ate the remaining half bowl and went back to sleep. I rubbed her forehead with a clean cloth to wipe the sweat beads away. I held my thought about the Madame Serban theory in the back of my head and would ask Janos when he'd come back for an opinion. Janos came back at 4 p.m. sharp, precisely as he said. He brought 3 men with him. All of them were respected people of the city. Their rough faces told me they had seen bad things over the years. He gave me the food, for which I thanked him. "Vlad, come here. Let me introduce you to George, Nicu, and Murin. They will help us with what we need to do. We'll stand guard here at your house tonight to see if the strigo comes again." I nodded. "Janos, can I ask you something?" I said, raising my eyebrows. "Yes, of course, child. What is it? I see something else is troubling you." I told him what I thought about Madame Serban. All that happened since she was there on the side of the road when my drunk father died. What she said, what she looked like when I met her in the fog, the pig-shaped body, her black abyssal eyes, the worms that fell from her mouth, the smoke that flew out her throat and into the sky, the murder of crows that circled over my house, the nightmare I had, the tapping and scratching at my window, and the silhouette I saw outside the house. Janos turned to the 3 men whose faces were now as white as snow. They said they only heard stories about Madame Serban and were always suspicious about what she did inside her house, but they never heard about something like this. They spoke between them, confused but eager to find out the truth. "What if we break into her house at night and see if we find something?" Janos asked. "I don't know why, but I trust this kid. He's my blood, after all." "I think I know someone who can help us with information about her," Murin said. "Elizabeta." Silence in the room. No one had ever dared to talk about that woman. She was 104 years old at that time. She lived alone in a small hut atop the hill. People would go and talk to her if they had problems. Janos said he went to her after his wife's death because he didn't have where else to go. But she was sick then, and they never got around to seeing or talking again. She did tell him to come back, but she never did. "I guess it's time for me to go there right now, isn't it? I haven't seen her since I was a little boy," Janos said. "Can I come?" I asked. "She's a living legend in my house. Mom told me lots of good things about her." Janos told me it would be wiser to stay with Mother and care for her if she needed it. The 3 men remained outside the porch to make sure nothing terrible happened. During the 2 hours he was gone, Mother's condition worsened. She kept whimpering and shuffled in the bed, cold shivers alternated with hot shivers. It was as if she was trapped in a never-ending nightmare from which she could not wake up. I made her open her mouth to force-fed her and gave her tea to fight off the mental infection of the strigo. Oh, how I wanted to be the one to rip out its heart and feed it to the dogs. I imagined myself doing that with a massive grin on my face, thankful to the gods that they provided me with the opportunity. Before I knew it, 2 hours had passed, and Janos was back. He seemed to have aged 20 years, his eyes were red as if he cried a lot and couldn't stop. "Are you all right, Janos?" George asked. "Yes, but I need to sit down and catch my breath. The information I received is a lot to take in. Some of it is personal, and I will share it only with Vlad and Marietta when the time comes. I only hope we'll pull this through. We are men, and by God, we'll kill that thing, one way or another," he said. "Now, let me tell you what's of interest for the task at hand." We all sat around the kitchen table as Janos told us precisely what to do. And it wasn't a beautiful thing, but it was necessary. Elizabeta told Janos what everyone already knew: Serban was a witch who tried everything possible to communicate with the devil. She was the one responsible for my father's accident because he was an easy target and already a great candidate for becoming a strigo. His heart was filled with hate, he was an evil, violent man, and he didn't have respect for anything. He just wasted his days at the local bar, waiting for the end. The end came sooner, thanks to Madame Serban's witchery. She appeared out of nowhere in the middle of the road, just as she did with me, but was only visible to the horse. She controlled the horse and father's fall, resulting in his violent death. A violent man's life ending violently. Madame Serban killed in the name of the devil, bringing him a sacrifice in flesh and blood. The devil didn't want the deceased's soul yet, and let it roam free in the darkness of the night to claim more victims and strike fear in the soul of the innocent. In addition, Elizabeta encouraged Janos to go after Madame Serban at night when she was asleep. She gave Janos a small bottle filled with a greenish-purple liquid that moved around in slow motion to drink in case any of us got hurt. She also gave us 5 silver crosses to ward off whatever evil we encountered. She told Janos that she wanted to meet me as fast as possible because she liked hearing about brave children who wanted to fight off evil, protect their parents and their land. I smiled at that. Then, Janos came to the gist of it. Serban had a secret tunnel underneath her house that connected to the cemetery. She would sometimes steal bodies or remains and use them for food and other black magic. Elizabeta said that she had stopped her numerous times before, but as she got older, she also got weaker, and her powers weren't as they used to be. "Wow," I gasped. "This village is much more than meets the eye. In these parts of the world, evil has many faces, son. And we need strong and smart men and women who can ward that evil off. Or else, it will eat away at our souls and minds, poisoning them until there is nothing left." Elizabeta said that we should try and take as many things as possible from the witch's house and bring them to her. She would probably be aware of our arrival and not risk getting caught, but she would leave traps behind. She also gave Janos clear instructions on how to deal with the strigo, what to say and do so that the curse was broken and mother could get better. Janos would need to place 3 leaves and an egg made by a black hen when the sun settles. That was customary for someone believed to be sick because of a strigo. Night came, and with it, an all too familiar silence. I thought it was calm before the storm, but I hoped my mom would be healthy again. "Gentlemen, we'll stay here until midnight and see if the strigo comes again. If all is good, we will go to the witch's house, down through the tunnel, and into the cemetery," Janos said. "Vlad, you and I are born on a Saturday. It means we can see the spirit when it comes. You've seen it last night, even if only for a second, but you've seen its ugly face." I nodded. The drops of time fell in the hourglass of my heart, and midnight came. A glass broke, a heavy thud in the bedroom. "He's here," I whispered. I saw its bluish-white face with red eyes studying me. It hissed, hunched, and wagged its tail like a dog from hell. He jumped all over the house like a headless chicken. "Janos, do you see it?" I cried. "Yes," he replied. "Stop it, you're killing me. Get off me," Mom said. The strigo was on top of her, his mouth connecting with her jugular. For a few seconds, it drank my mom's blood. Janos screamed some words that I assumed he knew from Elizabeta. Strigo, be gone, I'll splash you with wine, I'll smoke you with basil, I'll burn incense inside your mouth, your heart, I'll take. Upon hearing these words, the Strigo cringed, hunched forward, and vanished in the night, jumping right outside the same window he came through. Mom panted and screamed. If he comes one more time, I will die. I can't take this any longer, she said. The three men looked at Janos as if he was their lieutenant who led the final assault against the citadel of evil. Nicky ran back home and got his wife to stay with my mom and take care of her until we returned. Or until we didn't. We walked in a line to Madame Serban's house. I felt as if the house had 1,000 eyes set on us and ready for the kill. The moon illuminated the sky above and studied our every move, staring at us with horror. We broke in through the back and found ourselves in an abnormally large corridor that seemed to exceed the house's length. Large black and red candles burned on each side, and the flames sent shadows dancing like little devious devils on the walls. We tiptoed forward until we reached what was the kitchen. Large glass jars filled with dead frogs, mutated tadpoles, chicken heads, severely deformed fish, and taxidermied rats stood on pieces of wood stapled to the walls. Christ Almighty, guide our steps through this ordeal, said George. We all made the sign of the cross 3 times and pushed into the unknown. Get your axes ready, Janos said. I have a feeling things will get ugly. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. As we moved around the kitchen, trying our best to stay silent, the rays of the moon fell through the window, as if God had illuminated our way, and a large red door took shape. I think this might be it, Nicky said. The tunnel that leads to the cemetery. Janos closed his eyes for a few seconds and sighed. As much as I would like to stay here and search the house, maybe even kill Serban, I feel she's long gone. The only logical thing we should be doing is go and take that monster's heart out so my daughter would live, Janos said. Murin slowly pushed on the door handle and opened the door. A set of stairs led into a dimly lit tunnel. And we descended. The height from the ground up scared me. There were also red streaks of liquid, which I assumed to be blood, given the location. A high-pitched wailing reverberated through the tunnel, making the walls shake. A woman-evil laugh followed. Madame Serban was there with us. Oh, I waited for you. Do you honestly think you'll live through this? She screamed. Her voice came in waves, and it made my ears hurt. She laughed again. Be gone, servant of Satan, Murin said, laughing. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so on earth, amen. Nicky prayed. Little boy, I like you very much. I think you'll make a nice addition to my collection of Strigo. You haven't been baptized yet, have you? What? Janos asked. I don't know, I screamed. I never went to church. Janos sensed fear climbing up my spine and slowly taking hold of my brain. Don't worry. I'll take your first thing tomorrow to Father Serbu, and we'll baptize you, he whispered. That's not going to happen, which? Over our dead bodies. Murin screamed. Bring it on, Nicky roared. The laughing grew fainter. Thick black fog filled the tunnel. I squinted and saw a humanoid body taking form at the end of the corridor. It stood on 2 legs that ended in pig hooves and slowly breathed as if waiting for a charge. It had the upper body of a with fresh cuts on its torso as if scratched by long nails. Thick black fur covered its dark brown skin. It had a pig's head, and small red eyes shimmered while studying us. It had a golden ring in its snout, and blood dripped from each side of its mouth as it revealed decayed, rotted teeth. An inversed cross glimmered in the center of its forehead. Protect the kid, Janos said. We kill this unholy beast. I stood behind them. The black swine began taking small steps towards us. I saw his evil grin as he spoke with Madame Serban's altered voice. This is one of my children. I love him, and he loves me. He's one of the best I had, the black pig said. It took me a lot of tries to get him done. Be gone, beast. Take your creator with you. Janos cried. The evil one has no business being here in these lands. Oh, but he is ever present. I am his servant, and I do his bidding. He promised me many things no mortal could ever dream of having. How do you think I could bring back a dead body to life and improve it as I had with my child? The black pig asked. Oh no, this means only one thing, I said. I swallowed hard in disbelief. This village was much more than it seemed on the surface. Evil lurked at every corner, and the stories I would later hear would only cement that idea. But it also had its protectors, good people who lived in the shadows, minding their own business, who had been fighting it for centuries before I was born. The black pig charged toward us in big leaps. I also saw it had 2 medium-sized sharp horns that could be used to puncture through human skin. Janos was first, Niku and Murin behind him. George stood before me to make sure he had a chance of hitting before the beast claimed my life too. If not for them, I would have been only dead meat. Come on, filthy beast, Janos said as he smashed his axe on the floor. Sparks flew all over the place, but the pig didn't even flinch. Janos ducked and kneeled on one leg. The pig jumped over him. The axe caressed his underbelly as everything inside fell on the ground and Janos, Niku and Murin stuck their axe in its head while George decapitated the beast. The brave men killed the beast. The red lights in its eyes were extinguished, and its grin was gone. A high-pitched wailing filled the tunnel, and then silence. The black pig lay motionless on the ground, and we all thanked God Almighty that this was over. A set of stairs appeared at the end of the tunnel. We climbed and found ourselves in the woods behind the cemetery. When we looked back, there was nothing there, not the stairs, not the tunnel, only the woods. The pale moon seemed relieved we had escaped, it didn't look so sad anymore. We caught our breath for a few minutes and entered the cemetery through a broken part of the metal fence. It was the first time I'd been in a cemetery at night. An owl hooted atop the church's spire, and it watched us. I was afraid that it was Madame Serban's sentry. Maybe I was just being paranoid. You were brave back there. The devil cannot defeat God. He tried once, and he fell into the fiery pits of hell. Now he tries to mess with the minds of children of God, but we will not let them. As long as we and our kin stand in this land, the devil will never win. Marietta will be healthy again, this child will grow tall and strong and protect his own people. God makes this village, and it will never be destroyed by the evil one and its followers. Janos said. Let's finish this once and for all, Murin said. God, forgive us, Niku said as he broke the lock of the church's tool shed. We will only borrow a few shovels to save an innocent life. The men got to digging. I studied my father's face in the picture on the cross. He looked normal enough. Behind his eyes, there was nothing wrong to be seen. I closed my eyes briefly and remembered every bit of hell he had put my mother and me through. You can't rest until you cause some more damage, can you? Monster, I said and spat on his cross. I heard Murin's shovel hit the coffin. The moment of truth, gentlemen, Janos said. Niku, George, try and pry it open with your shovels. My father's body was in pristine condition. He looked like he was sleeping after a long day's work. He sat on his side, and Janos turned him over. He had fresh blood on his as if he had just fed, my mother's blood. You goddamn evil bastard, I said. I gritted my teeth to keep it together. I could feel my eyes watery with tears of hate and anger. His beard has grown, too, goddamn bastard. We're all men here, we're not afraid of anything and have courage in our hearts, even you, boy. What I'll do right now is not for the faint of heart, Janos said. I heard the village folk talk about what you should do in case a Strigo ever appears. How the exorcism ritual needed to be done and the malevolent spirit cast out back to hell. And by God, that's where my father needed to be for eternity, boiling in the cauldrons with hot tar, over and over again, and seeing how my mother and I felt when he applied his much-needed physical disciplinary correction, as he called it. Can I do it? I asked, extending my arm. Janos made big eyes as if he couldn't believe what I had requested. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked. I grabbed the knife and jumped down into the hole. I stood over my father's corpse holding the knife tightly. I said the following before beginning the ritual: Strigo. I'll splash you with wine, I'll smoke you with basil. I'll burn incense inside your mouth. Your heart I'll take, cut it with a knife, into 9 pieces, throw it over 9 valleys, for 9 dogs to eat. Strigo. You shall eat your own heart, your insides, your liver, your flesh and bone. I closed my eyes, struck his chest, and pulled down. Inside his chest, there was a pool of fresh blood. I proceeded to rip out his ribcage so I could take the heart out. After doing so, I placed it in a bag and got out of the hole while the 4 men resealed and reburied the coffin. The next step was to go to a crossroad, stake the heart and char it. We got there and made a small fire. The heart hissed as if it was dying slowly. We then had to return home and burn the heart for the second time until it turned to ash. Janos said he learned about all of this from Elizabeta. I had to take the ashes and make it in some tea and have mother drink it. My stomach twisted upon hearing that, but there was no other way. I had to save my mother's life. I poured warm water into a big cup, then I mixed in my father's heart remains. When I got inside the house, I noticed she was burning up. I hurried and gave her the drink. Her back arched, and she clenched her fists while screaming. Then she fell flat on the bed into a deep slumber until morning. I didn't even notice when the sun rose. Its warm rays entered the house and caressed mother's face, lighting it up like she was given a second chance at life. She moaned as she slowly opened her eyes. "Vlad, are you all right?" she asked, coughing. "Yes, mother. How are you feeling?" I asked back. My voice trembled. "Brand new, dear boy," she replied with tears. The Strigo didn't return, meaning that what we did was the right thing. From that day on, Janos and I got very close, and he taught me many things, and we did many things together. But those are stories for another time. I went to the church and got baptized the next day, then went to visit Elizabeta. She told me my grandmother's death was Madame Serban's fault. She had placed a spell on her and wanted to kill her while pregnant. Elizabeta found out too late about this and couldn't do anything except save my mother's life. I swore there and then that I would find that evil witch and kill her too. I write these words with tears in my eyes. My mother is alive and well. She managed to push through all the bad things that had happened to her. I'm taking care of her even now, and the only death she'll know will be a quiet, peaceful death. As for Janos, I miss him every day. He was a man of great courage, and I still have his picture with me wherever I go. I like to think that he protects me. May God help us all. Amen.
That is the last part of this story. We thank user postmortem33 of No Sleep subreddit for their eerie story of a boy who avenged his mother with the help of his grandfather. We also thank you, our beloved viewers, for your utmost support to the Double Dutchman. We are truly grateful that we have now reached 100 subscribers. This is all because of your patronage and support to our dear storytellers of the dark. To continue your support to our channel, do not forget to share and subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you will not miss the upcoming stories from our channel. Kindly like and share this video and comment down below on what you think about this story. This is the Double Dutchman. Till our next story, we'll see you there.